Going back to Black Ops 4 Zombies after the release of Cold War and Vanguard is really quite interesting. If you're anything like me, your expectations were just demonstrably high when you were looking forward to this game back in 2018. I mean, its launch was just hyped up so much with the reveal event and everything. But playing Black Ops 4 Zombies today after having Cold War and Vanguard, it's a lot easier to look at the game objectively, just fairly look at it without having any prior expectations. Now that now that we kind of have a faint memory of what this game was, we kind of have it's easier to review it without having expectations that are so high. So lately I've been playing a lot of Black Ops 4 Zombies, going back to it, rush mode, classic. Actually ran all the Easter eggs except for classified. That one can go screw itself. But yeah, I've ran all the Easter eggs recently and it's been a really great time. I mean, in this video I'm going to be going over basically why I think that we took this mode for granted, why it's a lot better than we thought it was initially, and why I was wrong in my video 2 years ago saying that this was a bad game. So let's get into it. First thing I wanted to mention that's cool about this game is the hit markers. They're just pretty awesome, it feels good to kill a zombie with it. They had it in Cold War as well after, but I did really like the hit markers in this game. I just thought the red hit marker felt really nice. Next thing is the atmosphere. All the maps in this game have just so much atmosphere and characterization to them, it's just insane. Because when you go to Cold War, I mean, the maps have some of that, but in this game we had characters, voice lines, dialogue, Richtofen, Scarlet, Bruno, Dempsey, all of them. They just made the maps much more interesting when you were playing as an actual named character with a backstory and, an actual personality. But the maps themselves, the atmosphere, the music, it's all just so masterfully freaking done. And I didn't even see it when this came out. So basically, when Blood of the Dead, I'm going to mention this one first. The music on Blood of the Dead is stellar. When you're going all around the map, Mob of the Dead used to have these like area themes, and Blood of the Dead like remixed all of them. And when early on in the game you go across the catwalk and then you get into the spawn area and it always plays the loading screen from Mob of the Dead, but the remix version of it, it's just, really great nostalgic moment of like coming home. Just all the atmosphere in this game is just really good, and the graphics. My controller died there. The graphics, I mean, honestly the graphics are great. Like in some of the cutscenes, like the characters' faces, like the textures look a little weird, but I noticed that happening with a lot of AAA games recently, so I don't know if that's just it looking too realistic that it's jarring or something, but the graphics are great. If anything, some of the textures might be a little iffy, but overall, it's never a problem. Next thing I want to mention about this game is that there's a lot of ways to play. If you're going to start a match in this game, you have choices. You can use one of the 8 different specialists. You can use different perks each game. I'll get into that a little more later. You can, try just unlocking things, beating contracts, upgrading your weapons more. You can do the main Easter egg, you can try side Easter eggs, you can try playing with bots. That's always fun. And I don't know, plays a different character maybe. There's just a lot of different things you can do in this game instead of just playing kind of like what Black Ops 3, where you would have just one definitive match on a map and then you would kind of never have a reason to play the same map twice in one day. That's something I think this game definitely fixed, is that if you're going to play the same map over and over, you can have different experiences each time, where Black Ops 3, each map, let's say you were playing on Ascension Remastered. If you went on Ascension Remastered, played around 30, killed some monkeys, did the usual shebang, opened Pack-a-Punch, turned on the song. Let's just say you played that game, got to round 30, died. Now, are you going to start that match on Ascension again? Probably not, because there's not going to be anything else for you on that map. But with Black Ops 4, you can, you know, do all the aforementioned things, and there's just a lot of reasons to replay the same map over and over again. You know, this game doesn't need 14 maps like Black Ops 3 has, because the maps that are here have a lot of different features to them. I didn't even get into Rush. This is what the background gameplay has been. On Zombie Rush, there's just another reason to play the map. I mean, Gauntlets, the other Gauntlets mode, it's alright. Honestly, it's not great, but it's, you know, it's something extra. But Rush is a great, like, alternative if you don't have too much time to play. You know, just do a quick 20-25 minute match and have, like, something kind of comprehensive. Initially, I criticized Rush because it didn't have wonder weapons in it, but come to think of it, that would be pretty dumb. The entire point of Rush is for the match to be over quickly, and if you get a wonder weapon, you're going to survive much longer. Kind of defeats the purpose of Rush. Anyways, next thing I like about this game is the elixirs. They are, compared to gumballs, they're much better balanced, and, you know, kind of, they're not quite as overpowered, but they're still really strong. And it's, the way that it takes up the D-pad is actually pretty smart, because, you know, you can just use whenever you want. And if you want to, you can, what I usually do is I always align anywhere but here to, like, the up D-pad. In Rush, it's not really effective to do that because you could leave the Rush zone and get killed. So I don't use it on Rush, but usually when I play Classic, anywhere but here is always on up D-pad. So I can kind of train myself to, you know, if I'm about to die, react by pressing up D-pad, and always anywhere but here be on that button. It's just really nice having all those elixirs available to you at once. And the alternate ammo types, they're also better balanced in this game. I mean, in Black Ops 3, they were kind of too strong, to the point where, you know, people would just get an RK5, go into the spawn room, and just train with it with Deadwire. Maybe a churn gun as well. In this game, you know, they're still strong. I like the new one, Cryo Freeze, but otherwise they're not, you know, they're not carrying you through the high rounds. And what's nice is the zombies' health around, I think it's like the 40s or 50s, it caps off. So if you want to, you can use like LMGs and guns like that into the really higher rounds, and they'll still be effective. Next thing I'm going to get into is perk variety. So basically in this game, your Juggernaut, Quick Revive, Speed Cold, Double Tap, that's all built in. So if you're on solo, you have your self-revives to start off with. You have 200 health to start with, unless you're on Rush. And that's basically your Quick Revive and Jug. And then if you get all 4 perks, it gives you faster reloading, Speed Cola. If you Pack-a-Punch your gun 5 times, then it gives you double damage, Double Tap. There's no way to get more fire rate, but that's not really the most essential part. Double Tap, it was always the damage that mattered. But yeah, in this game you have all those features kind of enabled automatically. So the perks on top of that, you can choose, there's like 17 in the game. Honestly, like 10 are good maybe. The other 7 are kind of sucky. Like Death Perception, Stone Cold, Stronghold. I don't really use those much. I mean, if you're camping, Stone Cold might be kind of good, but I've always found that it's kind of a waste of a slot. You know, I've tried camping with it before. Not that good. Anyway, you can pick your 4 different perks in this game, and they're on top of, you know, the kind of basic effects that you would normally have in a zombies match. So, I mean, in Black Ops 3, usually you would get the main 4, and unless you had gobble guns, those would be your only ones. But here, you know, you're going to have those 4 basically, and more on top of it. So there's really no reason you need more than 4 in this game. Just because, I mean, you basically kind of do have 8. With the, you know, with the 4 effects built in. But yeah, I mean, the perks in this game that are good, I really like using Electric Burst, Winter's Wail. You know, Dying Wish is obviously the kind of one that's almost a crutch. But not really. I mean, it's a crutch on solo, I'd say, if you're doing high rounds. But if you just want to do like a casual game, or Rush, or an Easter egg run, there's probably better perks you could choose. Tortoise is pretty good. PhD, Stamina, Mule Kick. Time Slip, Bandolier. There's a lot of actually good perks in this game, so you're not just using the same 4 usually, unless you really get set in your ways. But you know, you can, since you have the basic 4 built in, you can get away with a lot more variety than you could in Black Ops 3, which is really nice. And I mean, most people, when they think of this game, their problem is the perk system, but it's really, honestly, like taking a look back at it, the perk system was perfectly fine. No, I mean, in the early rounds, not having jug. So basically, on the early rounds, since you start with 200 health, they're a little easier, but it's never really been a problem. If anything, that's made the game a little better because you don't have to worry about getting 2 swiped instantly. Overall, I think the perk system in this game is really well done. Another thing I like about Black Ops 4 Zombies is the wonder weapons. Magmagat, the Kraken, Death of Orion, the Gauntlets, Reagan Mark II variants. I think the wonder weapons in this game were all really awesome and really effective. You know, the wonder weapons in Cold War were alright. I mean, most of them were, I mean, the Ray-K and the one on Mauer Toten, that was like a ray gun pistol kind of. They were like, most of them were basically just rapid fire shooting at the zombies. I mean, that's my big problem with Cold War. It's kind of grindy. You know, you're basically just running around. It's too easy. You know, you're running around, making points, upgrading your guns, but nothing. You know, basically every round in that game is the same, though. You know, you're running around, shooting a lot into the zombies, and it's more of a grind than you know, than the uniqueness that this game had. I'm not going to get too into depth on that right now, but those are my basic thoughts on Cold War. It's good, but not, you know, it's nothing this like unique. Anyway, though, the wonder weapons in this game are all really effective, and there's ways to earn them, and you can get them out of the box as well, so you have a choice there. It's really good. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the way the zombies spawn in this game. I mean, it's pretty complicated, actually. Let me get into this. So the zombies in this game, they kind of just flood in from all the spawns as fast as possible, and if you're on, like, you know, if you're on a high enough round that they're running, they're going to be running in really fast. Like, as you can see here, I'm next to the mystery box, and you know, the rush just ended and they're already coming next to me. But for high rounds and for overall gameplay speed, this is really good. So, you know, if you want to go through rounds fast, you can, because of how fast the spawns are. The way this gets annoying, though, sometimes, is that if you maybe have a weaker weapon that's not going to get you out of a corner, and you're running around in a somewhat tight area, you're going to get cornered a lot, and your gun is not going to be able to save you. So it's just, especially on solo in this game, it's really easy to get trapped, like, constantly if you're not careful with how fast the spawns are. And honestly, my one legitimate concern with this game, I think, is the way that on solo, the last zombie always runs at you and you can't make it into a crawler. You kind of just have to live with it, and it's really hard to do anything Easter egg related with that going on. I mean, the only real solution to that is just using Winter's Wail and freezing the zombie, but that shouldn't be a necessity if you're doing an Easter egg on solo, which it kind of is. And I mean, that perk didn't even exist when the game first came out. I mean, it was pretty bad until they really buffed it, but yeah, back then there was just nothing you could do about the zombie. At least you have Winter's Wail now. Another thing I'm going to talk about is the guns in this game. The operator mods and the way you level up the guns is really well done. So basically you can unlock a gun a lot, and the attachments in this game are much more like tailored to zombies than they were in Black Ops 3. In Black Ops 3 it was just the same attachments as multiplayer, but here they have different effects in zombies. Like, for example, on the SG-12, if you get laser sight, it'll increase your fire accuracy, and then there's laser sight 2, you get that, and it'll give you more pellet damage. It was either more pellet damage or, like, more pellets, I forget which one. but it did increase your overall damage output when you did that, which was really good. And then you could also get operator mods, stuff like the Spitfire, the one that really increases your fire rate, or the stiletto knife on the Strife, which was basically attack knife. One hit kill the dudes till round 4. Really effective stuff. And I think that definitely increases the replay value that you can earn stuff like that. But it's not as extreme as Cold War, where you're just starting with a Bowie knife and you're one-hitting dudes till round 10. And I like that, you know. You're starting with a good amount of power here, but not so much so that you can just stay in the starting room and, you know, not have to pick up any new guns. And in this game, originally in my video talking about why I didn't like this game, I criticized the guns. Honestly, it's just the fact that the guns in this game have more variety. Like, the guns, their effectiveness varies, kind of like in Black Ops 1, where you would have just stuff like the crossbow, and like the snipers that are just terrible, and then you'd have some guns that are really good. You know, I was expecting it to be like Black Ops 3, where every gun was just amazing, but it wasn't like that. Which is initially why I think I had that problem. But yeah, there are really a lot of viable guns in this game. You got Scar H, A94, SG-12, Hades, Y-Hander. Some of the wall guns are pretty good too. I like the RCR-7, Maddox, MX-9. There's a lot of good guns in this game. A lot of bad ones too. You just have to know not to use the bad ones, not to count on them. Another thing I like about this game is the way the zombies hit. They made it slower, that was one of the really big problems with Black Ops 3. If you ran past a horde of zombies, they could just swat you to death like in like half a second. But here, you know, you're rarely ever getting instantly killed out of nowhere, and that's really appreciated. Even though the zombies do spawn fast and swarm you, you know, you typically have a chance to escape, even though it's only a 4-hit system. The boss zombies in this game are pretty cool too. I mean, they spawn pretty often, but you know, you have the tools to take care of them. You have the specialist weapons, you have wonder weapons, you have the insta-kill damage modifier. There's a lot you can do against the bosses. Sometimes you use a shield for them. And they give you power-ups too, so, you know, they're pretty well balanced, I'd say. It makes the game more interesting, more fun, having a lot of bosses to, you know, kind of deal with. And I think the one, like, main thing that makes this my favorite zombies mode now is the barrier to entry when starting a match is lowered. If you're gonna start a match, you no longer have to, you know, it's not like Shadows of Evil or Zetsubo no Shima where you're forced to do all of these things, you know, getting Pack-a-Punch, getting a shield, getting a specialist weapon from the start. It's all just very streamlined, and you can get into a match really quickly. You know, if you have like an hour to play and you have Zetsubo no Shima sitting in front of you, you are probably going to do something else, because you're not going to be in the mood to, you know, do all the plants and unlocking the power and everything like that. There's just so much, you know, repetitive tasks you have to do every time you play that map. But in this game, you know, those tasks are optional. There's stuff that you can just decide to do, but every time you play the map, if you want to just have a quick game, you don't even need to touch most of that stuff. You know, you can just build a shield in like 2 minutes, take another minute to unlock Pack-a-Punch, and then you got everything you need. And the difficulty balance in this game is just, I think it's probably the best, because Black Ops 3 zombies had this problem where the zombies hit too fast, but otherwise the game was too easy. And so, you know, you're running around having an easy time for 6 hours, and then all of a sudden you walk past a horde and you get killed before you can even react, because, you know, you just stop paying attention for a second. In this game, that's not as much of a problem, because the gameplay is consistently challenging, and if you're gonna, you know, if you're gonna go against a bunch of zombies that are gonna hit you a little bit slower, especially if you have, you know, a shield in Winter's Wail on, you're gonna have a chance to get away. And you have your specialist weapon as well, your escape elixirs, like in plain sight. There's just more of a, what's the word? If you're trying to get out of a bad situation, you know, you can see that bad situation coming. It's not just, you know, it's not just stop paying attention for a second and then die. Now, there are still some genuine criticisms I'd say that this game has, other than not being able to keep a zombie really on solo without it hitting you constantly. And I'd say those are, you know, on some of the maps, you know, the Easter egg quests are just like a ridiculous amount of work, and they're not worth, you know, they give you a tiny reward. Like on Voyage of Despair, I know it's really difficult to unlock stuff like the upgraded shield, and then it doesn't even, you know, give you that much of a boost. But on Blood of the Dead, if you want an upgraded shield, you just have to hit the box, and then it'll take you like 10 seconds. You just zap the box and throw your retriever at it. It's just, you know, the rewards on Voyage of Despair and some of the other maps could have been better. And, you know, there's also the point system. You know, you can't, there's no longer point guns. You just get 120 for headshots, 90 for kills, 150 for knife kills. And I mean, I used to really hate this, but after doing Cold War, 115 limit per zombie, you know, this is paradise. You can get, you know, you can get Temporal Gift of double points, have that for 90 seconds, just go ham, knifing zombies, getting 300 each time. And overall, I mean, what do you have to buy on high rounds? There's no longer the expensive Gobblegum. You got maybe traps to buy, shields, which caps out at 2,500, and maybe upgraded gun ammo. You know, you're always gonna have as many points as you need. Really, it's not a huge problem. I also wanted to go back for a second, highlight the perk system. It's really cool how you can like strategize where the perks are on the map. You know, which perk you're gonna get to first. Put the cheap ones near the spawn, the expensive ones kind of later in the map, and then have the modifier one. I think that's just a really cool strategic element the game's got. But yeah, overall, in conclusion, I think this game's Zombies is the best because it's got just the most replayability value. You know, I didn't even mention the custom mutations earlier, but there's just so many ways to play one map in this game, and each way is pretty well developed. And this is the biggest Zombies game we've ever had. You know, it started with 3 maps. One, you know, another one if you count Classified, and then we had another 4 in the DLC season. If this game had a Chronicles, it would have been great. But it doesn't even need a Chronicles, just because the maps that are here are really well done. And I want to say specifically for Blood of the Dead, this was the one I was talking about in my last video on Black Ops 4. I used to have a problem with Blood of the Dead just because it wasn't Mob of the Dead, but, you know, taking it on its own, you know, the Hell's Retriever is still really useful. Redeemer still kills into the high rounds and is really good. You know, it might not be better than Wraithfire, but, you know, considering that you're on Alcatraz, I always get it, and it's always a fun time. It just kind of makes the map feel complete. You know, just getting the Golden Spork and stuff. Honestly, I think that Blood of the Dead is my favorite map in this game, above 9 and Voyage, just because the Easter eggy stuff on this map is, you know, really well done. I like the song the best. Honestly, moving Pack-a-Punch has always been a pain on this one, but it's not a deal breaker by any means. And the Easter egg is, albeit tedious, it is really cool. It's got a lot of awesome steps in it. And the final boss is really fun, and the cutscene is just amazing. And just the way that it's, you know, one of the final Ether maps, you know, you get that, you know, you really did get that sense of kind of apocalypse that I used to talk about. You know, before now, I'd have called probably the best map in Zombies history, either Black Ops 2 or 3 Origins, just because there was so much stuff to do on the map, the soul boxes, you know, the staffs, etc. There's just so much to do on the map. But, you know, in Black Ops 4 Zombies, when you compare any map on here to Origins, you know, it's easier to start a game, because there's not as much that you know you're gonna have to do. There's more variety that you can use, a lot more strategies that you can do. Kinda when you're doing create a class setup, different ways you can play the map. And I think that it just encourages a lot more replay value, and the experience is you know, the gameplay is even better because this is the most advanced game Treyarch's ever made. And just all the mechanics are, you know, really top notch, as polished as they ever have been. So I think that just about covers it. What do you guys think? Black Ops 4 Zombies. My new favorite Zombies mode. Honestly, it stays interesting more than Black Ops 3 or 2 ever did. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.